Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and start the meeting tonight. Thank you all for coming. First item on the agenda, approving the minutes held from April 24th.
I'd make a motion, we approve those minutes and sign the warrant.
Second. By Bob, all in favor? The next item, discuss approving fire station the budget.
Okay, we've been working diligently on this fire station project to try to get this thing down to the point where it's affordable. We've been dealing with the same issues that everybody else has been dealing with construction projects. This last meeting, I think we made a lot of progress on it, and I actually have Rick McKenzie from his business here to discuss the numbers. If you would entertain a vote and approval on it after it's all done, we'd like to get this thing signed, sealed, so we can get moving on it. Mr. McKenzie.
Good evening, gentlemen. I think that Gary had given you copies of a budget that was presented back in August of last year, and I think that that was a budget that you folks voted on to take it past that, to put it on the referendum to the voters. And if you look at the left-hand column on this budget, it's the budget I put together for 8/29 of 2018. And as Gary said, we've been working with J.F. Scott, the construction manager on the project, to develop the design that Brian Duffy's come up with and have them price it. And it was done in phases. We had the initial budget that I had done, we started with, and the real litmus test was going to see what they come up with for a budget. And it's been very challenging times in the construction industry, the way we've seen escalation in prices. J.F. Scott come back with a figure that was initially about 25% over the budget that we initially presented. And through fine tuning and making a few changes, I think mostly more due diligence and pricing, we were able to yesterday get that number down to a little over 5% over the budget that we had. So our initial intent was to take and have a 10% contingency, which was shown in the 829 budget. We start construction to have hopefully a 5% contingency remaining, so that was for the construction phase of the project. And we've got about a 4.5% contingency that we have got left over here. And if you take a look at the numbers that I presented, the building costs on it, we ended up about $112,000 over budget on that. We had some costs overruns on the site, which we're working to address, and hopefully we can get that back into the number that we started with. None of the soft costs or FF&E costs changed. So all told, we're about $126,000 higher than we were last August. But I think that it's a good number that we have. J.F. Scott's going to work with us to try and get that down. We are at a position right now that the next phase, we're pleased that we've got a project, that we're within the budget, that is very viable. The next thing is to take and sign a guaranteed maximum price contract with them. And they've got some more revisions they're doing. I think you sent it out to me today, but we'll take and agree on that number, and that'll be the number that we sign a contract on. And it is a time and materials project. The number won't exceed that number, but we could potentially save some money from that. And I think that they've done a great job in working with us to get to where we need to be. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to address them.
Rick, while we're reading the paper, our contractors have a lot of problem finding the help they need. Have any of your contractors you've talked with expressed a problem on meeting the deadline on time?
I don't think time has been so much of an issue as it is. It's a very challenging environment, trying to get people to bid the projects and people that have the resources to be able to perform the work afterwards. And we ran up against that on this project with the foundation. People that you normally go to with foundations were busy. They're so busy they didn't want to figure it, or we could do it in July sometime. And fortunately, J.F. Scott has got the people that can do the foundation themselves. It wasn't their first choice to do that. We're going to pay somewhat of a premium on it, not huge, but it allows us to get the project started. So yes, we are running into that.
If you remember right, we set the project up so we had a 10% contingency, which was $243,000. After we reconfigured everything and worked on the prices, we've got that, so we still have $116,000 worth of contingency left, which is 4.5%. We're doing a lot better on this project than some of these other operations are doing. I mean, and we're still within the goal range as far as I'm concerned.
This was priced 8.5 months ago, and to be where we are right now, I'm working on projects that each phase of design, we're finding ourselves 10 to 20% over budget from the previous phase of design. So you retool, pull some things out of it, redo the design, you go to the next phase, you find yourself in the same spot again. So it's challenging.
Well,
Do you remember in the police department building what the contingency, was it probably 10% as well? How did we do there?
It was 10%. We actually brought it in underneath. We maintained the 10% and there was some savings on the contract, was my recollection. When you look at the contingency, typically you look at 5% of that as being for the bid phase, so that you bring the project in at the estimated cost. Then 5% of it would be for things that you run into during the course of the project. And they could be things that unexpected items that you have costs associated with them, or it could be if you don't run into those, you can incorporate some of the things you had to give up in order to get within the budget. But I think that we're sitting very well with that amount of money.
Good.
What do you need from us?
Make a
I
motion.
need a motion and a vote on to accept this new budget.
I'd make a motion, we accept their proposal they have here for us tonight with the 4.5% contingency with the same grand total.
Second, all in favor?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for all that hard work, we appreciate it. Next one is to vote on a new rescue truck.
Okay, at the last meeting, I asked to go and pick it down the road just so that I can educate myself on a couple of items. We're all set to vote on this as the chief presented it. And we've got a couple of other items in there. If you have any questions, Chief Coffey's here to answer them, and we'll do it.
Just one thing on the rescue truck. I was talking with Doug to see about the potential for any prepayment and any discount. And there is a small discount if Doug decides, kind of give him the freedom to make that decision. If we make $100,000 down payment when we order the truck, we get discount of just under $2,000, $1,973. Doug kind of did a quick calculation based on what we'd receive on it, like Doug does, it calculates the interest. He thinks that would probably end up being closer to a $500 savings, but he was gonna, fine tune it once we move forward. So I would still recommend, approving the entire amount and then let Doug run the numbers, and if we can save money, he'll make a down payment on it. But other than that, nothing has changed on the truck and the related equipment. The $211,590. If there's any further questions from what we talked about or answered at the last meeting.
Questions? No questions? Which one do you want?
It's the Warner body truck. The truck is $200,000 with the related equipment. It's $211,590.
I'd make a motion, we go with that recommendation of the chief for that truck.
Second by Buzz, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll work with Doug on any potential savings on that, and we'll get the ball rolling. Just a couple of quick items. The department has renewed its Department of Labor Shape Award, so that's we've been inspected and re-inspected, and so that's been extended for another 3 years for us. And we also applied for and received a Maine municipal grant for a new 4-gas meter don't remember the exact amount, but I think you have the paperwork with around 1,400, I think. And so we'll start moving forward with that. We did attempt to apply for a grant for some training materials for a new building, some smart boards and screens and projectors through the county grant, and that was denied, but we're going to continue to look for avenues of trying to find different funding sources for some of this stuff that we can help offset the soft costs on the new building.
Thank you.
What's going on right now?
So on the grant, I'd like to have a motion and a vote to accept the grant. And it's the Ed Mik'aella Safety Enhancement Grant. You should have a copy up there. Second page.
I'll make a motion that we accept the Ed Mik'aella Safety Enhancement Grant.
Second.
Motion's made, seconded. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Nice job, thank you. Next item up is talk about LD 1371.
This is the cable contract. Last meeting, we talked about the cable contract. I got council approval to sign that and move forward with it. After I got your approval, I learned about LD 1371, which is currently going through the system right now, and addresses some of the items that I was in the negotiating phase. One of it was 15 homes per mile. It's going to be a standardized contract for all the communities, so we won't have individual contracts. I personally would like to wait to see if this thing comes through before I sign it. I've already talked with Shelley about this, told her that I was going to talk with the council tonight, and if the council agreed on it, then we're going to hold off and just work on the past contract until this thing gets figured out where it's going to go. And if you're okay with that, I would like a vote to hold off on the past vote that we approved.
I make a motion, we hold off on our vote we took to accept that contract you come up with until we find the outcome of LD 1371.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Next item up, item 5, vote on a road name for a new road off the Trafton Road.
Got some paperwork from Kathy Gagan, and we're building a house on a road, and they're coming up with a name, and they have 3 name choices. Number 1 is Warden Way, 2 is Trout Terrace, and 3 is Moose Ridge. Warden Way was the choice they'd like to see voted in, and you should have the paperwork on that. It shows where the road is, and it looks like a name change.
Yeah, it was Canvas, it changed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Terry Hughes is building a house in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Terry Hughes moving back to town.
Building a house, I guess, yeah.
I make a motion, we accept their recommendation of Warden Way.
Is he the only person on that road?
Apparently so. Just looking at it.
Well, yeah, okay. Second.
Motion's made, second. All in favor? Warden Way. We've done item number 6.
So we're going to move into executive session. And what I would recommend is taking the second one down, which is discussion of confidential records.
I make a motion, we go into executive session on 1 MRSA, section 4056F.
Second.
Motion's made, second. All in favor?
This is going to be over here.
Yeah. So we're all done at council meeting, and your mom said all you need to do is give her a call. So you're all done. It was a short.
Sign this,
Oh.
here.
Mike does.